like this one the most? Because of the nose. It's actually quite comfortable. I've got all these friends here. But the microphone, where? Right, nice to see you all again. For the people online, all these teddy bears were already on my seat before I walked in. So we decided to share the seat together. It's quite nice. Feel like I'm a little child again with all my plush toys. I used to have a crab, that was my favorite one. Like what do they call it, stuffed toy? Like a crab I had, and a rabbit. Anyway, that doesn't, that's not interesting information for you to know. But I hope to have told you some interesting things throughout this retreat. Maybe also some silly things that you quickly forget. But I hope you won't quickly forget about love and kindness. And I hope in this retreat that at some point you had a little taste of what love and kindness is, or maybe even a big taste of what it is. And I will repeat again what I said at the beginning. If you haven't had a taste yet, then remember the simile of the ice cube in the frozen room. You turn up the temperature, you need to turn it up higher and higher. At some point, the ice cube will start melting. Don't stop turning up the temperature too soon, because you won't see any results. So maybe you've had no results yet in this retreat, but I hope some of you have. And I think most of you will have. And the feeling of metta, loving kindness, acceptance. Nowadays there is like a lot of talk about emotional intelligence as opposed to rational intelligence. And I'm very happy that people talk about that, because emotional intelligence, that is what the Buddhist path is about. We often we argue and discuss about the suttas, and I myself do that as well. And I give, suttas are the Buddhist texts, and I give classes on the Buddhist texts, and I say, this word should be interpreted like that, and that is all in rational intelligence, which can be helpful, but it's not really what the Buddhist path is about. The Buddhist path is about emotional intelligence, what is in here, not what is in here. And one of you, during the questions and answers, gave a little note that says, I'm happy this is also being recognized in psychology more and more. And you mentioned acceptance and commitment therapy. And in that kind of therapy, I'm a little bit familiar with that. The ground basis for all the work that they do is to first accept whatever feelings you have. Whatever problems they come to the psychology with, the first thing is always to accept. Whether it is depressions or traumas or jealousy, anger issues. The first thing that they teach in that treatment modality is basically a form of metta, to accept first whatever you are feeling, whatever you're experiencing. And that doesn't mean that you, let's say, are depressed and that you have to be, yay, I'm depressed, yippee, I'm gonna be super depressed. That's not what we mean by acceptance. We just recognize, it's depression, I'm allowed to be depressed. That's okay. It's part of being a human being. And you open up your heart to that. This is when healing can start. Because when you feel, you open up your heart to depression, and in a way you are okay to be depressed. And then you start being content with being depressed, and you start to become happy with being depressed. And when you're happy being depressed, you're no longer depressed. So that's putting it very simply, of course. Depression can be a very difficult thing people struggle with, so I don't want to downplay it in any way, but the thing I'm saying is that acceptance and metta, loving kindness, is not something to be looked down upon. It can be an extremely helpful tool in your emotional life, but also in the way you interact with others. And also, it can be a basis, not just it can be a basis, it has to be a basis for the whole Buddhist path, the whole path that the Buddha laid down. And that's why I decided to do this whole weekend retreat on that single subject. Many of you I've seen in Ajahn Brahm's retreat before. And Ajahn Brahm also teaches metta. And he often talks about kindfulness and being kind to yourself when you're meditating. And I thought I would just pick up that single topic and put it in center stage and teach you about that. Because without kindness, meditation will never work. I told you this morning about the person who said, I can only meditate when everything is perfect. But if you have that attitude, then you can never meditate. Well, you can accept everything as it is, and then everything becomes perfect in a way already, because you accept it as it is. Does that make sense? Perfection is in the eye of the beholder, let me put it that way. So, if you accept life as it is, then you don't need to change it anymore. And it becomes good enough. And then you can meditate happily as well. So this is why metta is so important for meditation. Because we don't push out the feelings, like the anger-eating demon on the king's throne. Yeah? Like these take my throne. Remember the anger-eating demon on the king's throne. And the feeling of love and kindness is also important in forgiving people. And I told you a little bit about this before. Because kindness and wisdom are two sides of the same coin. Kindness and understanding. In French they have a saying that goes, my French is not the best, but tout comprendre, c'est tout pardonner, which means to understand everything means to forgive everything. If you understand people, then you forgive people. And this is why the Buddha and other wise people were kind, because they understood people's situations. They did not develop kindness as something separate from their understanding. You will never find an enlightened person who is still angry, because their wisdom and their kindness are just two sides of the same coin. So don't think that developing metta is inferior to, let's say, insight meditation. Yeah, you think, I want insight. I don't want to have all this fluffy kindness stuff. Just give me the insight. No, the things go together. So if you develop metta, you actually do develop insight as well. at the same time. And you also develop letting go as well. Letting go is so important in the Buddhist path particularly, because the Buddha taught us that the cause of our suffering is desire. And letting go of needing life to be one way that we want it to be. Yeah, we want life to go this way, but it goes that way, then we become angry. But if we develop metta, then it's okay if life doesn't always go the way we want, and we can open up to it. We can accept it as it is. And this is letting go in practice. And when I was a 12-year-old or something, I used to play bridge in the school bridge club. And bridge is, for those of you who don't know, it's like a card game where you are with a partner and you get dealt a hand of cards, and then turn by turn you lay down your card and you try to win the round by having the best card. And bridge, you get dealt a certain hand of cards. And you have to play the round with the hands of cards that you're given. And if you get dealt good cards, then it's very easy to play the round and win. If you get dealt bad cards, you don't just throw down the cards and say, stupid game, I'm not going to play today. Because we even did a bridge tournament, but if you want to win the bridge tournament, then you also need to learn how to play the bad cards, just as well as playing the good cards. And this is what metta does as well. Life will give us bad hands sometimes. Sometimes we're dealt a bad hand. Maybe we get sick, we get fired, we get old, and whatever might happen. Sometimes we just get dealt a bad hand, but instead of being like, stupid cards, I don't want to play anymore, we're like, okay, I'm just going to play the bad hand as well, with just as much good intentions as playing the good hand, because we realize it's all part of the game, both the good and the bad cards. So metta is also letting go of our desires, letting go of us always wanting life to be one particular way. And you might have felt that during the meditation. Sometimes when you just open up, you develop the feeling of kindness, then suddenly you are less demanding of your body, of your mind, of life. And that is why it's such a beautiful emotion to develop. And it also helps us let go in other ways as well. Because this goes a bit deeper into Buddhist ideas, but we often think that the voice in our head, the person that we think we are, should be in control of our emotions. And it should be in control of life. And we should be able to control whether we are happy or angry or whatever. That's what we think. But the Buddha thought that doesn't work that way. The voice in your head that says, I am in control, the Buddha said it doesn't work like that. It has not such control. But quite interestingly, if you develop the feeling of metta, in part of you finds some control actually over your emotions, because you're not so easily controlled by ill will anymore, not so easily annoyed by other people anymore. And you also find, I find anyway, but maybe it's just me, that by developing loving kindness, just the whole life becomes more easy, And even in meditation, your mind is more likely to follow instructions that you give it. Like if you have a kind attitude and you tell your mind, please focus on the breath, it works much better than if you tell your mind, okay, now focus on the breath, with like an angry attitude. You mind, why don't you listen? Or, you mind, why do you keep falling asleep, stupid mind? Well, instead, okay, it's okay to fall asleep. Or maybe we can stay awake as well, it's okay. And be kind to your mind. And try it out. But I think you'll find that through kindness, you will have much more, quote-unquote, success in meditation. Because your mind listens more. And there is even a study that I've heard about, only like half heard about, but I'm not an expert in any of these things, but I remember this study where they put children in a room, a very empty room with very little to do. They put children in one by one, maybe like 10 years old or something, and they had a bowl of freshly baked cookies in the room. Yeah, you can imagine it smelled really nice. Well, we just all had lunch, so maybe not. We don't want cookies now, but maybe they put them in the end of the day, the kids, and had this bowl of cookies. And they had two groups of kids. One group of kids, they said, okay, you can't eat the cookies, we'll be back in 15 minutes, and if you eat any of the cookies, you'll get points of your test that we'll do later. All right? Otherwise, you're a bad kid if you eat cookies. Something like that is what they did. And the other group of children, they went on their eye level and said, please don't eat any of the cookies. They're for somebody else later, okay? Maybe later we do a test. It's okay if you do the test badly, but for now, can you do me a favor and please don't eat any of the cookies, please? And then they left. Now there's two groups of children. One group was treated very badly, with anger, and the other group was treated with kindness. And now you might think the test was probably how many cookies did they eat? But none of the children ate any of the cookies. That wasn't the test. The test was, afterwards, they gave them some like exercises to do, like calculations and grammar tests and stuff. And they looked at which group did better. And it was, of course, the group that was treated kindly did way better than the group that was treated angrily. And this is a simile for how you treat your mind. If you treat your mind with anger and demands, then it will not listen, and it will not perform well. But if you treat your mind kindly, then it might actually perform very well. And I hope that makes some sense to all of you. To me it does. Like when I heard about that study, I was like, yeah, of course. It makes so much sense that if you're treated kindly, you'll perform better. Maybe you should tell your boss about that study as well, by the way. Like, if you treat me kindly, then I'll perform better. They might say, yeah, but you're not a child anymore. I don't know. Anyway. So those were just some random thoughts about metta and kindness, and specifically to say that it is not just a secondary thing in the Buddhist practice. It's very central part of the Buddhist practice. If you want to develop wisdom, you develop kindness automatically as well. And if you develop meditation and it goes well, then kindness is just always there as well. It's just natural that those things go together. And I hope that makes some sense to you. So, for our last meditation together, I want to, again, focus on kindness, but this time see if we can let the kindness just be natural. Instead of all those visualizing exercises that I gave before, see if we can just let it be. And also if we can have some kindness towards the breath as well. Because meditation on the breathing is another big meditation topic, and many people do that. Some people find it difficult to stay with the breath. And one reason is that they don't really like being with the breath. They're not really friends with the breath. So I suggest making good friends with the breath. And that will be one of the things I'll guide you in this meditation. Sound like a plan? Yeah? Okay. So as always, dear friends, don't rush into your meditation. Make sure that your body is comfortable. If you need to adjust any parts of your body or any of the teddy bears that are poking in your back, then please do so. And just relax your body. Maybe because we had lunch not too long ago, this is also a good reminder to tell yourself that although we relax and have our eyes closed, it's not the time to go to sleep. Still the middle of the day, the sun is shining outside. Birds are chirping. And right now we plan to meditate. Maybe later we can sleep later. You can even imagine that with every in-breath, you're turning up the lights inside your mind. You're turning up your awareness. And with every out-breath, you relax. See if you can let go of any unnecessary tension in your body. And acknowledge that you are right here, in this place, this moment in time. And there is no need right now to plan the future or figure out what we're going to do after this retreat. There's still plenty of time to just to be here right now. By being here and now, we actually prepare for the future. Much better than if we just keep thinking about it. Because we generate energy, we generate kindness. And whatever the future brings, we will be more ready for it because we have a good attitude in general. There's also no need to think about how do I meditate, what is this feeling, what are these instructions. There's no need to doubt, can I do it? I can't do it like all these others. No, let go of all these thoughts. And allow some stillness inside. Just allow yourself to hear the sounds in this room. The cold air of the air conditioning on your skin. Other feelings in your body. So whatever happens in this moment, that is what we call the present moment. And you can spend the rest of the meditation just being in the present moment if you want. But for those who feel so inclined, I invite you to bring up the feeling of loving kindness once more. Maybe it's still hiding in that little box in your heart. Or maybe you need to use any of the methods that I taught you in this weekend. You spend a couple minutes lighting that fire of metta inside of you. The feeling of unconditional acceptance. whether you use any of those visualizing techniques I told you before, or anything else. If you do find that feeling of loving kindness in this meditation session, once you feel it's strong enough, try if you can just be with that feeling by itself without needing any of the visualization techniques or otherwise. Just you and the feeling of metta. Take that feeling as your object of awareness, if you feel ready for it. And the best way to do that is not to go chase after the feeling, as if you're trying to grab it. Instead, invite it into your awareness and let it come to you, rather than you going after it. Just say, feeling of loving kindness, I allow you into my full awareness. And just hang out with that feeling. There's no need to judge it, or change it, or make it stronger, or whatever. Just be with it and relax. And let it relax you. From time to time you might lose the feeling, but you might find it's quite easy to get it back again and let it come into your awareness again. And if this is really working for you at this moment in time, I suggest you just stay with that feeling for the rest of this meditation. Others might try to focus on the breath instead. Just feel like what it is to breathe in and out. Notice the details of what it feels like. And as you're breathing, send also some kindness towards the breath itself and make it your friend. Because friends like to hang out together. And if you make your breath, the feelings of the breath, if you make them your friend, they will naturally come to you. So with those instructions, I will now let you meditate for another 15 minutes. And then I will signal the end of the meditation again. We're nearing the end of this meditation. Perhaps once more we bring up this feeling of kindness and acceptance towards our fellow retreatants in this hall. May you all find happiness and peace in your life. May you find lots of good on your path. Thank you, everybody, for being here on this retreat. And I don't say that because you've all been listening to me and being good students. No, I say that because it's really inspiring to see people applying themselves to these kind of ideals of kindness, meditation, peace. And these are these are the highest practices that beings can do. It's not just something insignificant at all. It's really, really it's the best thing you can do. But it's not always easy. But you all, each one of you, have chosen to apply yourself to this, at least for this weekend, and probably for much longer than this. And to that I say sadhu, and it's really beautiful. And I hope you've learned something helpful during this retreat, and that you can use it in the rest of your life, in your meditation and in your interactions with others, and also, very importantly, how you look on yourself, how you look at your own feelings. So maybe we can say sadhu to each one of us. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yay. I will, in a moment, have a cup of tea out there, and if anybody has any private, brief questions, or just wants to say goodbye or whatever, then we can do that then. There's also somebody who wanted to take the 5 precepts. They can come up to me as well.